Q&A. Q&A. January is low-key one of my favorite parts of the year for college basketball and really sports in general. Ice cold outside. It's snowing every now and then. The sun is setting early. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. And every Saturday morning, I wake up and realize that there's like 150 basketball games on. So I'm not going to go anywhere, and I'm not going to do anything half the time. Let's dig into the questions. Is Louisville a lock for March? They're not a tournament lock mathematically just yet, but they are 100% a tournament team as of today, and I definitely expect them to be in the tournament. They're on a 6-game win streak, which includes wins over Carolina, Clemson, and Pitt. And those 3 wins are so important because those 3 teams, along with Louisville, obviously, are competing to be the second best team in the ACC behind Duke. So if you beat all 3 of those teams, you kind of solidify yourself as the second best team. And they just play with a lot of fire, a lot of intensity. They rebound the ball well. They don't turn the ball over. They play very, very smart defensively. They don't overfoul, which is really big because they don't have great or a lot of depth. Which is also kind of funny because going into the year, that was supposed to be one of their strengths, but they had a few early season injuries that have kind of flipped them the other way. But Chucky Hepburn's having the best year of his career. He's one of the best point guards in the ACC. Rain Smith is one of the best shooters in the entire country. That man is absolutely ice cold. Devon Hadley and Terrence Edwards have versatility. They can do a little bit of everything. With such a strong start in the ACC, I really do expect them to be in the tournament. I don't know how high their ceiling is, but with how often they shoot the 3, if they can hit at any kind of consistent rate or at a higher rate, they're definitely going to be a dangerous team in March. And it helps that you have Pat Kelsey, who has clearly done so much for this team and the culture and the program and the school in such little time, which is awesome to see. And speaking of Louisville, shout out to my boy Cole Adams on this one. Mark Pope and Pat Kelsey saved Kentucky basketball. I couldn't agree more. These are 2 of the best college basketball programs of all time. So Mark Pope and Pat Kelsey being in the positions of power that they are is just so good for the sport. Both of them are great basketball coaches, which is obviously priority 1, especially at schools like that. Kentucky's 13-3. They're still one of the best teams in the country. And Louisville is 12-5. 12 wins is what they had in the last 2 seasons combined. They're both just so likable and charismatic, and they just get it. And the vibes are so high. And for the coaches that were at the schools beforehand, you can't really say that. After Kentucky's win at Miss State, Mark Pope spent like hours greeting all the traveling fans. He even went up the stairs into the mezzanine section to find the disabled fans that couldn't get down the stairs to the court. Pat Kelsey saw that. He loved it. He commented on it about his rival. Pat Kelsey is just a positive, energetic guy. He is all about building culture. And like I said, these are 2 of the biggest basketball programs historically and even now. So having these 2 guys driving the bus forward is awesome for the programs. It's great for the rivalry and the state of Kentucky. I got a lot of questions about Johni Broome, Auburn, and kind of just what's going to happen next. He's obviously going to miss some time, and that's a really tough one for the best player in the country. I feel for him. Nobody wants one of the best players, really any player, to get injured like that. Auburn is still a good team without him. You saw Tahad Pettiford step up, Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, Chad Baker-Mazara. Like, guys will step up. The team is still good, like a top 25 team in the country. The question is, how long is Johni going to be out for? How do they adjust, and how well do they adjust so quickly, especially in the SEC when they're going to play teams basically every week that are top 25 caliber and some of them top 5 or 10. How do these games without him affect their seeding and affect their resume for when he does come back for March? Great segue question. Who are the number 1 seeds right now? The first 3 are definitely very easy. Auburn, for now at least, stays at the top. They're number 1 in the net. They're number 1 in KenPom, strength of record, wins above bubble, you name it. Obviously, with Johni Broome's injury, the question is going to be, will they stay there? Not only how do they perform without him, but how does the committee take into consideration Johni Broome's injury in these games? Where will we see the difference? Duke, the hypothetical ACC champion, is the second 1 seed, top 5 in almost every single metric that the committee uses to seed teams. Got the Auburn win, and they're only getting better and better. And then Iowa State, as the hypothetical Big 12 champion, would be that third 1 seed. They have a great resume, 14-1. They've only lost to Auburn and Maui. They're awesome. The fourth 1 seed would come down to Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama. I think Marquette is very, very close, and if they do their job in the Big East and win the Big East throughout the end of the season, they could get to this fourth 1 seed. As of right now, they're just on the outside. The metrics are kind of balanced between these 3 SEC teams. Tennessee also got their ass kicked at Florida last week, who, by the way, Florida has been awesome. People don't like that I don't talk about them enough. They didn't play a ton of good teams until now, but they are obviously proving that they're unbelievable. And I am surprised that their strengths are so balanced. I thought they would run so much through Walter Clayton, but they're really good all over the place. But for the fourth 1 seed, I think I would say Alabama. The strength of record is huge, and you can see it. Their strength of schedule is the second toughest in the entire country, where Florida and Tennessee, their strength of schedules are in like the 70s. Last 1 seed will change. Auburn is one to monitor, especially as all these SEC teams start to beat each other up and beat each other more. As of right now, Auburn, Duke, Iowa State, and probably Alabama. who are some Power 5 teams that you think aren't getting enough recognition? Georgia is definitely one of them. They're 14-2. They have good wins. One over Kentucky this week. That was awesome. And they beat OU. I think they don't get talked about a ton because it's Georgia. So people just think it's a football school. They don't really care that much about basketball. But also because the SEC is so good with like 5 top 15 teams in the country. And they're not one of them as of right now, at least. So when you're talking about 5 to 6 elite teams, you don't talk about the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th team as much. It's natural. But they are very good. They have a lot of young talent. 4 of their best 6 or 7 players are freshmen or sophomores. So I expect this team to maybe even get better. Then I would say Michigan and Michigan State. Now, they're both talked about enough, but I think they're both built very well to succeed in March. Michigan's a great outside shooting team. They have experience. They have tournament experience in their coach, Dusty May, who I think is a very good schematics guy. 4 of their 5 starters are over 36% from 3. They have the 2 big lineup mismatch with Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. And Michigan State has just been quietly winning and taking care of business a lot, even with poor and inconsistent shooting. Statistically, they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the conference, maybe even in the country, but they have the guys, they have the shooters, they have games where they can shoot. If they start to figure it out, if they start to find those looks more and get a little better and more consistent, like the ceiling is the roof. How many bids does the A10 get this year? There's a running joke on Twitter about the A10 being a 0 bid league, which it's justified. It's funny, but it's justified because the conference is good. Like, it's clearly one of the best mid-major leagues in the country, but it's so frustrating because they should have more than one tournament team in every year, but they sometimes don't. Because of Dayton's bad stretch, because VCU has a few bad losses already, like, they're trending to being a 1-bid league. Other teams that have been good have good records like URI, GW, the Bonnies, St. Louis. They don't have a good enough resume in the out-of-conference to get an at-large bid later on. It's going to take probably Dayton or VCU to basically run the table until the A10 tournament and probably the A10 finals to have 2 A10 teams in the tournament. Now, that being said, I still think whoever comes out of the A10 is going to be dangerous in March. Still hold some faith in Dayton and VCU. I like St. Joe's a lot for the postseason. I like St. Louis. I think URI and the Bonnies have been good. It's just such a tough league to win on the daily, but also in the tournament and on the entire season point of view. So the in-conference cannibalism is going to probably force the A10 to be a 1-bid league. Can the Big West get 2 teams in? Now, this is a more likely scenario, I think, honestly, than the A10 right now. All UC Irvine and UC San Diego have their battle on Saturday. Awesome game. UC Irvine's defense prevailed. And I think Irvine had maybe a slightly better resume than San Diego with that win now, so I think that's better for the case for the 2-bid Big West. It's going to take something similar to the A10 though, where UC Irvine basically wins out until the Big West final. Maybe they can lose one if they play San Diego again, and they're going to have to lose that conference tournament final to UC San Diego, and that would be the case for getting both in, depending on how the rest of the country plays out. I got a lot of questions about the Mountain West. Who's the best team? Who's going to get in the tournament? Yada, yada. I'd say the Mountain West is destined for what they usually are, 3, maybe 4 teams in the tournament. Utah State has been unreal. It just like doesn't matter what happens. They physically can't lose, especially at home. By the way, an unbelievable environment. Shout out to the Utah student fans. Ian Martinez's game-winning shot was like rattling around the rim. They just find ways to win. They have an unbelievable resume and record right now. Like, they're probably going to be a tournament team. San Diego State is still a tournament team. New Mexico is probably on the right side of the bubble right now, and Boise State is maybe just out. UNLV, Colorado State, and Nevada are still dark horse teams in the Mountain West tournament probably to watch. Someone brought up the idea of New Mexico being a dark horse of Cinderella, and I don't want to do this again from last year, but I will stand on what I said last year. They were built very well to win in March last year. The path just wasn't for them, clearly, and I was wrong, and a lot of us were wrong. And they still are again. They're a similar team. Their guys have gotten even better. They're more focal on Donovan Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph. We will be cautious with New Mexico and all the Mountain West teams. Answer this question specifically. No, I don't think the Mountain West will cannibalize itself to a 1 or 2 bid league because there's more parity and more clear tiers in this conference, and those top 4 and really top 4 and then top 7 teams I think are much better than the rest of them. I had a lot of people ask me what is wrong with Cincy because it has been awful. I 100% point to the offense, but even in the beginning of the season, they started off with a really good stretch, but they weren't playing the greatest of teams. So I was still kind of cautious. Their last 4 games, they're 0-4, granted, against some good teams, but to Kansas State is not good. They're shooting 26% from 3 and 59% from the free throw line in their last 4 games. They're one of the slowest and worst power offenses in the entire country in this span. They've just been stagnant. There's not a lot of activity or motion in their offense. They're not getting a lot of good looks. They're not making a lot of tough shots. They're on a really dangerous path right now, and their next 9 games in the Big 12 are, I guess, quote unquote, we'll call it easy by Big 12 standards. So this is it for them. These next 9 games are huge if they want to keep their tournament hopes alive because they're on a dark path. Illinois and Purdue Twitter have been bickering this question. Who is the favorite for Big Ten Player of the Year? Braden Smith, Kasparis, Yukuşionis, or other. You can't count out guys like Nick Martinelli. You can't count out guys like even Dylan Harper, Bryce Williams, Derek Queen, Danny Wolf. It is probably one of these two guards because their teams are also so good, but they're also clearly both awesome. I don't know when the switch flipped. Big Ten Twitter has been enamored by arguing about Braden Smith and Yukuşionis for weeks now. It almost feels like a political argument because like it's two people or two groups of people on complete other sides of the spectrum. It's like the college basketball fan for like college only, they don't like the NBA, are on Braden Smith, and Purdue fans obviously, and then the NBA people and the upside and the talent people are on the Yukuşionis side, and obviously the Illinois fans. They're both two of the best point guards in the country. I see the answer for both sides. Genuinely, that's not a cop-out answer. KJ is obviously the better long-term prospect and the pro prospect because of his age, his upside, his size, his athleticism, his scoring ability. I think in a vacuum on the college level, I want to say Braden Smith by like a hair because the scoring upside, we've seen it this year. We've seen him do it on such high usage, more than we really ever expected. I think the Illinois supporting cast, especially offensively, is a little bit better than Purdue's supporting cast, so Braden Smith has to do more, I think. But I keep saying I think because I'm not super confident in it. And at the same time, like if you told me games on the line, I need someone to go get me a bucket, like I want KJ. I'm going to choose Yukuşionis. It's a lot of skill set and performance and style and kind of how they fit in systems also. What can we do as fans to prevent the 5th year of eligibility potential change? I'm sorry, I got news for you. For really any NCAA rule change, us as fans really can't do anything at all. The NCAA has shown time and time again, and not just this year or in the last few years with the portal NIL, like I'm talking forever, they have shown that they will prioritize their motives and their goals and their financial gains and whatever their vision and narratives are. I don't really know if the 5th year thing is going to happen with the JUCO ad also, because then you could be playing like 7 years for the average player. Like it's kind of ridiculous, but sad to say you really can't do much. Why do NBA teams value freshman players more than a proven senior player? NBA teams and professional organizations want players and young guys the most room to grow and upside. So age is an obvious one on that, and development, because like when you're 17, 18, 19, like those are probably the 3 biggest years of your life as an athlete in terms of physical development, mental development. So if NBA teams can get you in the building and have you there at 18, 19, 20 years old instead of 21, 22, 23, like they have exponential growth they can see. The idea of taking upside picks is you can kind of form them to your system, right? The argument with Zach Edey last year was that he has been so good for the college level and the college style that will he succeed in the NBA? He was obviously always going to succeed in some level, but it's easy to see that because if you get a guy like we're talking about, Cooper Flagg or whatever, 18, 19 years old, they play 1 year of college, so they're not stuck to the college style at all. When you get them to the NBA that age, I already talked about the upside, the physical development, but that mental development aspect of you can form them and shape them and teach them to play the NBA game without having to worry about them reverting to the college game too much is a big part of that. That being said, I'm still a big proponent of the right experienced college guys to still go high in the draft. I had Dalton Knecht number 4 on my board last year. I will stand on that every day of the week. Don't care how old he was, because he was still getting through his development stages, even though he was like 23 years old, and he was still an awesome player and better than a lot of the guys that got taken before him. I will do that again this year if guys like Johni Broome and Cam Jones and Danny Wolf. So there's a balance to it. There's not one easy answer, but they want the upside, mental, physical. They want to get them in their building and shape them to how they want them to be. That's going to do it for this week's Q&A. I do appreciate y'all for being here, especially if you're here at the end. I very much love you and appreciate you. If you're here at the end of the video also, I doubt it that you're not subscribed, but if you're not, then subscribe, send it to somebody, tell them to subscribe. As you're watching this video, I am going to be either traveling or in Ames, Iowa, most likely for the Iowa State-Kansas game. I'm very excited. Shout out to the Clone fans. Come see me if you can find me. I'll be there all week. I'm excited. Hope you guys have a great week. Peace.